We will begin the session in next 30 seconds. Hi, a very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Ankita from NASSCOM Product Skills. I just hope all of you are keeping safe and taking precautions as much as you can. So we are meeting after a long time after a last session in November 2020. Hence, there are a few updates from my side which I want to share. First, by mid-May, we are launching our first course, PM101, on the Future Skills platform. A first course coming from the product veterans themselves. Do check and take up the course. Second, we have launched our Slack channel where you can directly speak and get in touch with our NASSCOM Product Skills core team, share your ideas, thoughts, questions, queries, etc. Third, we've also started our work on our another course, which is PM201, about which I shall keep you updated. I will be sharing all the relevant links which I just talked about via our chat box. And now let's come towards our today's session. In today's session, Nitin Varshne, Director, Product Management, Optum Global Solutions, and co-lead NASSCOM Product Skills will share his expertise on how to build your career in product management. I'm sure Nitin's experiential knowledge will help you build successful product stories in the times to come. You can ask questions anytime during the session, and Nitin will cater to most of them after his presentation. The session's flow will be 40 to 45 minutes of the presentation, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. That's it from my side. Welcome, Nitin, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Ankita. Good morning, everyone. Ankita, before I proceed, can you please confirm if you can hear me, if you can see my slide?
All good, Nitin. From my side, I can hear you properly. I can see the screen. Audience, I'm sure that all of you can also hear Nitin and see his screen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ankita, for confirming that. Thank you so much. So let me begin. Starting with thank you for introducing me, Ankita. I'm Director Product Management at Optum Global Solutions, a part of United Health Group. We over here at Optum Global Solutions are building products and platform for every segment and sub-segment of US healthcare industry. Have been working with the NASSCOM Product Skills team for quite some time, and have the background of working deeply in product management, product strategy, business consulting, and business development, assignments and work. So that has been my journey. It's really great to meet all of you this morning and share a few of my thoughts. Let me go to next slide. And before I begin the main presentation, I'd like to kind of take a moment to talk about my organization. Optum is part of United Health Group, which is a Fortune 7th organization, where our mission is to really help people live healthier lives and help make the health system work better for everyone. I'm sure all of us can relate to in these, testing times due to COVID, that how important health is. We at Optum leverage our data and analytics expertise, embedded technologies and clinical insights and expertise to really drive three major businesses, which is Optum Insight, Optum Health, and Optum RX. In India as well, we have 25,000 healthcare professionals working out of our 4 locations. So now let me start with the main presentation, and I would like to start with the key criteria which define the product management thinking or product thinking. Some of you might have seen this in terms of in a form of a Venn diagram, but really a very important aspect of making any key decisions around products and platforms. Before any kind of decisions are made, I think the 3 major questions which people need to ask, the product managers keep on asking themselves as well, is that is this product desirable to my customers? Is this product viable to the business? And is this product really feasible to really build it? So these are the three major criteria or decisions or the dimensions which should never be ignored. And every decision need to kind of go through this framework. For example, in terms of desirability, really what pains exist for the users, and what are you really targeting to solve? How are you targeting, and how are those being solved today, right? And how are you making this easy for users to adopt and use? So that's the desirability aspect of it. Second aspect is viability. Viability, although all three are important, all three criteria are important, but viability is said to be the most important one, because many businesses, many products actually fail to understand deeply the viability aspect of it, which means, is my customer going to really buy this product? Am I creating some valuable business outcomes for my business? And really, how am I going to measure the success of my product and the impact on the market? And what is the business model? Is it sustainable in the long term? That's a very important aspect of any product, which need to be answered well in advance before you take even first step. Many of the product actually fails because the viability was not thought through completely. And then the another very important aspect is feasibility. Many times what happens is, people start kind of focusing more on desirability, the usability by the users and whatnot. But what they kind of fail to understand is this even feasible? Does my technology, my operations, my financing, current financing of the organization, does it all allow me to build a product at that point of juncture? And how is my product going to react, or my organization going to react as the changes happen in the market? Is it going to be really agile in that term? Do we have those kind of fundamentals to build this product right in the right way? So kind of very important aspects of product thinking there: desirability, viability, and feasibility. If any one of them is answer is no, I would never advise any product or decision to be made, if there is a no answer to any of these. Now, if you very closely see, there are many frameworks out there which really focuses on describing deeply, what are the steps, or what are the competencies which are required to be an effective product manager. Now, there are many ways to kind of talk about it, show it. The way I have kind of shown here is dividing it into three major areas, which is strategic product management, technical product management, and product marketing. It does not mean that a single person is supposed to do all three of them, or we need really three people. It totally depends on ecosystem to ecosystem, product to product, platform to platform, organization to organization. In many cases, you would see strategic product management and technical product management related tasks are taken care by the same person. And in many ecosystems, if we are building large platform and whatnot, you would see a very deep down structure across all three of them. For example, technical product management can have TPM leads, TPMs, product owners, and business analysts and whatnot, right? So it's just a framework trying to identify every aspect of product management discipline very deeply. Now, let me start with touching upon all of these very quickly. Uh, you know, in strategic product management, there are three major areas which need to be kind of covered. One is product discovery, another is business strategy, and go to market. Within product discovery, the market problem is very important aspect of any product management thinking or product build exercise, which is doing deep market analysis, identifying problems, identifying sub problems, and the root causes of those problems. Really understand the problem so well that the solution smoothly comes to you, right? And then articulate that problem for others. How is that problem solved currently? If there is a problem, I'm sure There might be solving it some other way. It might be very inefficient way, but how are they solving it? So that's something which it's a primary role of a product manager to really do a deep dive on it. Do a customer need analysis, try to create empathy mapping, customer journey mapping. What are really the customer goals, what are their key success factors which are driving their success, right? Competitive intelligence, right? You not just your direct competitors but also your indirect competitors. Assess all your key competitors strategy, their products, their feature, their financing, their operations, their technology which they are using to build products, and then try to kind of create some kind of planning with respect to which will tell, okay, if I have to go against these competitors, how am I going to kind of counter them, you know what is my SWOT against it, and are there, as you do that, are there any blue ocean opportunities which you can pursue? The product market fit is very important aspect, which is a degree to which a product satisfies a strong product demand, right? How do you really plan to make it happen iteratively, through MVPs and whatnot, is really the bridge between problem space and the solution space. So that's something which is very critical aspect of product management. And then the opportunity analysis, not just short term but also long term revenue opportunities. How do you kind of assess the market realities, the opportunity quantifications, in terms of market sizing, prioritization, and do the risk assessment against each opportunities. And then we, kind of talk about business strategy, business planning in terms of really doing the financial projections, target marketing, and very deeply think about how will the operations work, how will my marketing and sales support the product, right? Uh, what investments are we looking at? What are the risks and what are the mitigations against those risks? What is my pricing strategy, right? So these are very deeply, any new idea which you are bringing to the product life cycle funnel, that need to think through all these kind of pointers. A very important aspect for a strategic product management role would be to kind of create a cost benefit analysis around your idea, around your product, around your platform. Deeply understand what are the costs. It could be labor costs, it could be infrastructure costs and whatnot, and also understand and project your hard savings and soft savings. Really try to kind of take a shot at product P&L in that sense, in terms of TCVs and revenues and profits. Ultimately, product vision and synergy is an important aspect of for all the senior strategic product management roles, where you are defining the North Star. Where do you really want to go? What are the business objectives you really want to achieve as you kind of move forward? And kind of leverage that product mindset in driving that strategy around it. And then strategic alliance. Not everything need to be built in home. Are there opportunities to buy or partner with external partners, right? So what are those product and capabilities which need different kind of approach? What are the benefits and challenges in each kind of those approaches is something which need to be thought through. Pricing and profitability is obviously important. Some of the areas, pricing is really the key. So what is that pricing strategy? What is that pricing model which you would deploy to make your product successful? What are the financial performance indicators which you are going to really follow as your product kind of deepens into the market, right? What are the revenue generation and profitability indicators which you are going to kind of follow? How are you going to really create a strategy around cash flow management, right? So things of those nature are very important. Also on go to market front, first thing, target segmentation, which would be kind of really identifying your target market, sizing them, evaluating the each target market, and then creating creating market segment strategy around it. And then the personas, in some cases, it's very important to really deeply understand your buyers and your users both, right? In some cases users would be more important, but doing deep analysis around buyers is very important. In depth understanding of what are their challenges, what are their motivations, what are their success factors, right? And it can be achieved by doing secondary research, but in many cases it is recommended that you do direct interviews, go to market and really try to understand what is your persona saying. What is your value proposition, right? How is your product different from your competitors? How is it adding value? And kind of narrate that story in a way which kind of brings out the value proposition of your product. So storytelling is really the key, and that will also help in positioning, right? When you communicate your product offering to your target customers, how do you address your customer needs better than your competitors, right? That's the key. If you are not able to do a better storytelling than your competitors, then it's not going to really fly well. And then distribution strategy around what is your channel strategy, what is going to be your pricing across various channels. And it could be self-service mode in SaaS or whatever format you would want, but that need to be thought through and deeply understood. Let me jump towards the technical product management space, wherein the key aspects are planning, execution, and release, wherein you understand how first thing first is product road mapping. Obviously, where you kind of create timeline based plan for executing product strategy, right? There are so many prioritization techniques and frameworks. Easily more than 20-25 frameworks are out there. You can leverage any one of those and really understand what is your roadmap for multiple years. Now, roadmap cannot be just about your product. It has to align with your business roadmap, and it also has to align with your technology roadmap. So that alignment is very key, right? And as you look deeply into your features, it's very important that you do the capability matrix, in comparison to your competitors. Where are you strong, where is your competitor strong? Are there white space opportunities which you can leverage? Are there features which really are required to be taken care well if you have to win over your competitors, right? So those are the things which are very key when you start doing the prioritization. Resource planning, obviously, as a product manager, you will always be required to be very resourceful. So not everything need to be built from scratch, right? Your organization will kind of have many of these resources, or assets which you can really leverage. And that's where the persuasion skills will come in handy. How do you really bring all these pieces together? It could be other products, it could be APIs, it could be the talent, it could be services, it could be some patents created elsewhere in the organization, right? So, and be the central force for collaboration to leverage those existing needs, right? So that's something which I would really want to highlight. Sometimes this becomes the most important aspect of a technical product management role. Requirement analysis, as everybody would understand, because this is one of those areas where it is believed that this is the most important part. And by now you might have understood that what else goes behind before you even kind of do the requirement analysis, right? But nevertheless, requirement analysis is really, really the key. How do you do the requirement elicitation? How do you conduct the grooming sessions? How do you do the data analysis and create the backlogs around it, right? And then the sprint planning, it could be sprint planning, it could be program increment planning. How do you really effectively align your teams, scrum teams, around those backlogs, sprint backlog or PI backlogs? And then how do you really respond to business agility? Many a times you will see that this role will ask you to deal with chaos, because there will be requirement which will come very, very ad hoc, right? I have faced situations in my life where my entire backlog was ready for next 3 months, and I had to, work weekends to overnight change my entire backlog because there was some change in the market or the organization, which I had to immediately take care of. And that's something which kind of is the core role of TPM, that no matter what, your backlog should be reflecting the current realities, current ask. of the market and for your product. Execution, obviously development, work shoulder to shoulder with your engineers, really helping them in that iterative development as they move forward. Collaborate with your engineering team, UX team, even support teams is very important. As I spoke about the backlogs earlier, also backlogs and features are very important, but also important is the backlog traceability. So if you see, the traceability should start with from vision, right? Where you are kind of defining where your organization or your portfolio need to be. And then, depending on that, where is your strategy? What is your, the roadmap and, features and epic stories and whatnot. And then at individual engineering task level, you should be able to anytime go back and say, okay, this task on which a particular engineer is working is actually, this is how it is traceable to the strategy or vision, right? So that traceability is very important. uh, the most important role when you connect with your engineering teams is really to tell the what and the why about the stories. I have seen many times product owners really getting into how, and you can do that if it is of interest to you, but that is not the primary expectation your engineering team have from you. Your engineering team will really deeply ask at story level that what are we doing and really why are we doing, and you need to have that answer very clearly articulated to them so that they are very confident about building what they are building. Similarly, UX and UI collaboration with the UX team is key, and getting that early validation on mockups is something which will be very important. And you need to, as a product manager, you would have to kind of get deeply involved in that. Doing UAT, A/B testing, or signing off on stories, features, build, whatnot, right? So that is also very important aspect of execution side of the house. And then the releases, in terms of planning of for the releases, in terms of market readiness, be it kind of going from proof of concept to MVP to release planning, or launching product. How, what is that plan around it? How do you collaborate with sales? How do you really measure the launch effectiveness? How will you call your launch a success? That's something which should be clearly defined. And incident management is something which you cannot really shy away from, because your product, if it faces defects and issues, whether it is P1, P2, whatever, it is something which you will have to own. Now, how do you really triage defects? That triaging sometimes is a very low game, especially in the early stages of life cycle, product life cycle. But in the later stages of the life cycle, that's like one of the key area to focus on. How do you really prioritize with minimal resources, right? And how do you kind of ensure the best product is out there? How do you own the defect resolution along with going shoulder to shoulder again with your engineering team? And how do you kind of manage the communications around it? The post-release supports, whether it is in terms of assisting in migration or usage of the product, or getting that continuous feedback from users, is very important. Now, these are very important areas which I covered from strategic product management and technical product management. Again, I want to reiterate it. In many of the cases, you would see the same person playing all the roles or taking care of everything, and you can see multiple people playing multiple aspects of these roles. But this is something which is very important, that every product manager or aspiring product manager really understand deeply that these are the things. As a product manager, teams will be looking, stakeholders and teams will be looking at you with these expectations. Then you have product marketing aspects, in terms of really creating an inbound and outbound marketing strategies, defining those marketing metrics which are aligned with your corporate goals. What is your awareness strategy? What is your brand awareness and product awareness strategy? That is something which you will have to work very closely with your marketing teams, leading the lead generation, in terms of defining what marketing channels will be pursued, what would be your customer acquisition strategy, in terms of advocacy, what are really the customer incentives around adopting your products. what are those key testimonials, and how do you really promote the promoters of your products, right? Many a times it will be very important to conduct events, whether it is industry events, product launch event or whatnot, or it could be customer summits. You kind of bringing all your existing customers together and try to understand how to improve or how to take your product to another level altogether. In terms of collaterals, very important aspects. Enabling your sales team by getting involved in win-loss analysis. Really, content to enable your sales teams so that they can sell your product well in market. And channel enablement in terms of how do you communicate to various channels, how do you kind of conduct webinars and whatnots around your products, around your business and whatnot. And then how do you really kind of partner with various teams to develop relevant facing market facing product content which are key to the storytelling around your product. So these are very important aspect of product management competencies which every product manager or every aspiring product manager should definitely take into account. Now I'll go to some of these key practices, behaviors, skills which are very important as you kind of take on these roles across strategic product management, technical product management, or product marketing spaces. In strategic product management, very important that you have that the strategic or system thinking, right? How do you really see the big picture of how the various systems within your organization operate interdependently, and how do you really utilize the right system levers to kind of take your product forward. Growth mindset is very important, so that because you have to be always open to explore new possibilities. Your product is not working in isolation, it's part of a larger ecosystem. So how do you kind of explore more opportunities for your own product, so that in collaboration with others you will have to really be open about it and not really be scared about facing newer challenges, about chaos or unknowns, as you collaborate with other teams. Critical thinking is important because deeply understand, as I was telling you in the previous slide, the market problems, understanding deeply about the market problem, really looking at every aspect of problems from the first order, second order, third order thinking is very important. Because every decision you make as a product manager will have ripple effects, right? Or will have the third order or fourth order impacts, which you will not be seeing right now, but you'll have to. That's something which you'll have to kind of really think deeply. You'll have to be obviously always customer centric, deeply understand your customer need, their expectation, their satisfaction. Are you the customer advocate for your customers, right? So there are famous stories around Amazon and whatnot, right? So where customer is at the center of every decision, right? Take initiatives and measured risk, right? So there will be a lot of challenges, as you can see, as you take on this path. There will be a lot of challenges, but are you taking those challenges head on is the question. Are you taking the extreme accountability around those challenges and really be at the driver's seat to kind of solve and navigate your product forward? In some of the large organizations, you will have to be politically savvy and agile as well to navigate the organization, really discover that power paths and circuits, so that your product do not face any hurdles and impediments. You will have to display business acumen mindset, business focused mindset, so that you can deeply understand your market. Many a times you will see product owners and product managers know a lot about their product but really don't know much about their markets, and that's where the problem starts happening, because product decisions made without really deeply understanding your market can create a lot of problems. And that those dynamics of the market, it could be legal, it could be anything, which kind might be coming based on the market dynamics. You will have to understand what are those things which are favoring you at that point of time, and what are those things which are not favoring you, and deeply kind of strategize around those points, which is very important. Now, the next one is you know, ability to say no. And one of the important aspect, and I will touch upon it in one of the later slides also, is more than your ability to say yes. What will be more critical is your ability to say no. And it's very important that you are so prepared to have the discussion with any stakeholder, executives, any partners, right, to kind of say that this does not make sense because of XYZ reasons, and therefore let's drop it, right? So that's very important. I recently was reading somewhere that Instagram was not compatible to iPads. All this through, which was only launched or got enabled, I think, a year or 2 years back. Instagram became what it became, despite being compatible on iPads. So somebody was very confident in that decision and saying it's okay to be not compatible with every device, which is fine, as long as you are very focused on what you want to achieve in your business dynamics, right? So that's something is very critical, very important, I would like to highlight. Then, on the technical product management front, very important is influencing others, right? As everybody would understand, it's not a role which will give you a lot of authority. It will not happen that a large force of engineers are reporting into you, and so you can direct them whatever way. No, it will never happen. You will have to use your persuasion abilities, your storytelling ability, and driving everyone towards that north star, so that whether they report into you or not, they are influenced by that passion, that north star, and do whatever is required rightly for the product. A technical product management manager obviously has to be extremely resilient and resourceful. There will be failures, and everybody will have to be ready for those failures. How do you really bounce back and kind of take care of those failures and convert those failures into successes? What is your emotional stability to deal with those churns and chaos is very important. Innovation drive, challenging that status quo and building an innovative culture in your ecosystem and welcoming new ideas and taking newer risks is very important. How do you really manage your time effectively as you would be partnering and collaborating with so many entities? How do you really organize yourself? How do you prioritize what need to be done in what sequence? How do you keep away from distractions which might happen all the time? As a product manager, you will have to be very careful about it. And then how do you be comfortable with all these uncertainties and cues, right? So it is not just about you being comfortable. It's also about kind of how you decrease and make it easier for others in your ecosystem as well, because uncertainties, unknowns, cues will happen, and you will be in the driver's seat to kind of really keep your ecosystem in focus, because you are going to be the as they say, master orchestrator of your product, right? And then enterprise insight, understand your organization very well, understand the dynamics in which it's playing, not just your own product or your portfolio, but overall organization. And how do you understand deeply that how to navigate in your organization to get things done, right? Very important aspect of it. And then very importantly also is conflict resolution. As you interact with multiple sources or parties, you will see conflicts arising, and you will have to understand deeply what is the source of that conflict, and how do you really amicably solve conflicts for long term for all your partners in your ecosystem. Very important. And then obviously you are not required to be technical or coming from technical background, but you will have to be tech savvy, right? So you should understand technology in order to have a better communication, better collaboration with your technology partners, be it engineering manager, be it architects, be it engineers, QA folks. So that's something which should be, you should definitely be comfortable with technology. And then last but not the least is product marketing. The collaboration is key really there. How do you manage multiple perspective, because everybody would have their own perspective around how to take your product to market and communications around it. How do you plan things so that it goes without any hitch? And then how do you really lead that change for the users? um, I would like to kind of, put all these entities, as I was kind of talking about in previous slides, together so that you have a view around what all teams, what all departments, or what all different competencies you will have to deal with or work with, collaborate with on a daily basis. And the way I look at it is that, technical product management roles will have to work very closely with your customers, your engineering partners, the UX UI folks, the support teams, the R&D teams, and whatnot. And the way I have kind of segregated, it's not hard boundaries. Please understand, it's not like your strategic product manager cannot talk to your engineering. They can. It's just that I'm kind of trying to depict uh, their majority collaboration or connect points are with these, right? And it's again true, if SPM and TPM is one person, then all the entities are kind of going to collaborate with the same person. And on the SPM front, communication and with executives, trying to understand the org vision, communicating it back in terms of progress and guidance and whatnot. Working collaboratively with your finance team on CBA and business plan and whatnot, and funding and everything, right? So, and then working with your sales team, legal team, product marketing folks will have to uh, always work with legal team, communication teams, media and marketing. As they plan to take their products to the market and kind of design all the communications around it. I will take a moment to also talk about something which is called as T-shaped product management talent, which is nothing but how do you really, as I understand, a lot of you are aspiring product managers, and you take your journey forward. In the product management career path over here. The way you look at it is not in terms of designations, not in terms of really the hard roles and responsibilities, but in terms of skills. What you'll have to think about is that at the end of the day, a product manager would have to understand everything which is in strategic product management space, technical product management space, or product marketing space. And these, in my view, are, as they say, the transferable skills, which means if you are doing execution, backlog management, or if you are doing pricing on one product, it will not majorly change to the other product. The fundamentals will remain same. Fundamentals. There will be changes, but fundamentals will remain same. And then how do you really build the depth into the ecosystem where you are operating? For example, I come from health tech world, so I do have ecosystem depth of health tech. But similarly, as you go strong on your transferable horizontal SPM, TPM, and product marketing skills, how do you really build your ecosystem depth also is very important. It could be in terms of domain, it could be in terms of business model, B2C, B2B, B2B2C, or local, global, or in terms of product types. It could be a SaaS based product, it could be platform, it could be a physical product, it could be data asset, it could be a support application which you are working on. How do you really build your depth into these product management skill is also very important. So this is how I will suggest that as you move from wherever you are today to your next steps, think about it. Are you building your transferable horizontal skills, and are you also scaling yourself into your ecosystem depths? And this is one slide which I would really want to focus on. As you think about your career movement up in the ladder, right? Historically, product management is not very old function. If you see, it's so currently the product management kind of population is basically coming from various other roles, right? you know and that's true today as well. So today also, and more importantly, I would like to highlight that all these roles can focus on kind of transferring themselves into the product management career path. You could be a developer, you could be a QA analyst, you could be operations analyst, you could be marketing analyst, you could be a project manager, you could be a pre-sales analyst, you could be a data analyst, you could be a financial analyst, you could be a designer, right? All these roles are valid, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing few more, right? But all these roles, if you are playing this role and if you are wondering, can I get into product management? Yes, of course you can get into product management. The journey obviously will start from the beginner's level, where you will play the associate or junior product manager role, wherein the backlog management, UAT, doing the competitive intelligence, and information and knowledge sharing are some of those key areas where mostly associate or junior product managers are focusing. And as they grow in the maturity, as they become product managers, they start really becoming the drivers on product roadmap, and kind of holistically look at market, not just your competitors, and understand deeply your customer in terms of customer empathy, lead all those collaboration which I was talking about in the previous slide with various stakeholders, and also take care of that product market fit, and also kind of deeply plan your product program increments or sprints, so that your product can go and be built in the right way, in the right manner, right? So and then the advanced level of product management career path starts. Senior product managers, where they focus on really building the business plans around the newer ideas, building the charters on how to kind of take a product from one end to another, and how do you really do the stakeholder management, because this is the level where you will start interacting with executives. How are you being the voice of customers, right? How are you keeper of that, right? And how do you ensure that we are not just building products thinking only about viability, right? And this is where the career path also starts becoming interesting, because now you can choose to just focus on leading products, or you can choose to lead products as well as product managers, or you can choose to lead product managers only, right? And that's where your team starts building. You are kind of owning multiple areas rather than only one area. Director product management kind of leads the PM teams overall. They own the business outcomes, and obviously also chart out a strategic roadmap for the teams, for the product group, and create the cost benefit analysis, kind of proves why a product or a platform need to be built, in terms of benefits versus the costs which are being asked for. And then the executive levels of VP product management, where the product vision need to be set, and the strategic alliance which I spoke about in terms of build by partner and whatnot need to be decided. Discussions around the funding need to be kind of spearheaded, and kind of defining those business outcomes, which really will be the success parameters for the products and the business. And at the top, obviously, is the chief product officer or CPO role, where the product vision, portfolio vision, and the strategies will be defined. It's not an easy task. A great amount of analysis, great amount of collaboration would be required before you even attempt it. So that's the role of CPO. And then long range strategic planning, not just focusing on current year backlogs and whatnot, and setting those MBOs and OKRs is something which is very important role of CPO or the head of product organization. And I will end. This is my last slide. I'll end with few of the product management quotes. Some of these quotes are very important quotes. I would like you to kind of take a moment to read. A great product manager has the brain of an engineer, heart of a designer, and speech of a diplomat. It's very key to every aspect, because product management role obviously is going to challenge you on every aspects of these hard skills and soft skills. At the end of the day, your job isn't to get the requirements right. Your job is to change the world. So are you able to see that Uber business objective vision, and are you able to keep your teams focused on it is very important part of product management roles and responsibilities. Steve Jobs once said, people think focus means saying yes to thing you got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas. And this is what I was saying, that ability to say no is very critical. And believe me, it is one of the hardest thing to do. When you are surrounded by stakeholders who want something to be done, in all your analysis, everything on paper or everything from market, everything what you heard from buyers and users says we should not, that courage is something which Steve Jobs himself was kind of highlighted long back. Um, any damn fool can make something complex. It takes a genius to make something simple. Very important to make things simple, because the more complex you will make, the more confusing it will be for your engineering teams, your counterparts, and everybody in the ecosystem. If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. So this is very important aspect, that the process, the product mindset says that it is a iterated process, and it will go from proof of concept to MVPs and various releases to the point where you really wanted your product to be. And if you are getting anything right in the very first go, very first version itself, if you look closely, probably you might be late, and there might be already few folks who might have done their job, have made it very easy for your users. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Very important, as you hear to your buyers and users, and communicate with your counterparts, on engineering, your UX and everything. Reading between the lines, because not everything will be kind of stated out there. And building a great product is a creative, chaotic process which you won't get right every time. So you have to also be learning from success and from failures. So that's like the very key point. It's a chaotic process. It will have unknowns, but that's where the product manager role comes. It's very important. The reason why it is one of the most sought after skill set today, why there is an organic demand in the industry to have high maturity, high potential product managers across the domains, is exactly this, because they are the ones who can deal with chaos. They are the one who can deal with unknowns, and they are the one who can keep the entire ecosystem focused on what need to be done. With that message, I'll close my presentation here, and we'll look for more any questions out there. Ankita, are there any questions, please?
Yeah, thank you, Nitin, first of all, for your amazing presentation. Um, yeah, we have few questions, so let me just begin. The first question is, to start the product management journey, would you recommend to start with strategic product manager role or technical product manager role?
No, very good question. Very good question. I know that you might be thinking, should I start with on the technical front or strategic front? And my answer would be, it doesn't matter, right? Eventually, if you're focusing on that T-shaped framework where you are covering all the transferable skills, product management skills, eventually, right, over a period of time, it won't happen. You cannot do like, okay, I will do 1 month SPM role, 1 month TPM role. It won't happen. And the journey could be, in either ways. You could start with backlog management and lead towards market analysis and strategy and whatnot, or you can start on the other side You can start with market intelligence, researching and helping on building strategy, and then get into backlog management, technical product management aspects. We have seen in Optum also, we have seen huge success through both the routes, both the paths. So it does not matter as long as you have, you are very focused on covering every skill sets out there required to be an effective full stack product manager eventually, or a product leader eventually. Great question, Ankita.
All right. Thank you, Nitin. Now moving on to the next question by the audience. Does technical background help in building career in product management? That's a
So another
very
good
common
question. I
question.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very, very good question. I think I have heard this question earlier as well. And my answer to this is that, look, you don't have to come from technical background. You need not be a developer before you become an product manager, right? But one thing is for sure, that you have to be tech savvy. You will have to be comfortable with technology discussions, right? If your product is based on blockchain technology, AI, ML, or any of those technologies, and if you are not able to have a meaningful conversation with your architects and engineers, then it is not going to go too far. I mean, it does not. You don't have to build models on your own, but are you able to? Are you comfortable having that discussion? Are you able to go beyond defining what and why, and kind of getting into that discussion on with respect to, okay, how do you really execute it, right? And how do you leverage various technologies, including emerging technologies? And there are so many forums out there. NASSCOM itself has a great platform and avenues where you can easily learn a lot of technologies at their basics, and it won't require you to be coming from technical background or the development background. But great question. But bottom line, you'll have to be tech savvy. You need not be coming from technical background. That's the answer. Yeah, but great question.
The next question, Nitin, is can I switch industries while playing product management roles?
Great question again. Very important question, and I think the answer again is yes. You will see a lot of successful product leaders, who have worked across industries. They have worked for retail, they have worked for health tech, they have worked for other industries as well, including automotive or agri tech or whatnot. And the idea there is that the some of these product management competencies and skills are very fundamental in nature, right? So some of those, in the if you go back to the T-shaped framework which I showed, some of those are transferable. So those skills, which means that if you can do execution, backlog management, if you can do collaborate with marketing, or if you can build strategy and roadmap for one industry, you can very well do it for another industry. Obviously, you will have to also deeply understand the domain, the dynamics of that industry. You will have to work hard as you switch industries. You will have to work hard to come to a point where you can have a very meaningful discussions with everyone. But product management is supposed to be industry agnostic competency. So definitely you can change industries. Great question,
Thanks.
Ankita.
Thanks, Nitin. The next question is currently I'm not where my product's market is. Can I still play an effective product management manager role?
Wonderful question. I'm sure this might be coming from someone who is working for your US or Europe market. Great question, and my answer is yes, because you don't have to be in market on a daily basis or for a long term, right? So the point is, intermittently, if you are going and attending events, if you are meeting your customers, if you are talking to, if not to your customers, to their representatives, to like, for example, it's a common practice to create user panels and customer panels to talk to on a very frequent basis, to talk to people who are actually talking to users. And you can always go intermittently, and really travel and talk to your customer, talk to your users, and kind of be effective. But if you see a lot of GCCs in India, product managers are doing their job being so many thousand miles away from market, because the idea is to kind of navigate your way in getting the right insight and intelligence from market, from your users and buyers, not being always in the market, right? So definitely you can do that. It should not become the barrier. Obviously, I understand if your market is there where you are, it becomes little easier. But it's completely doable, and it should not become any impediment in your product management career path at all. But great question again.
Thanks, Nitin. The next question is, can I pursue product management career path in IT services organization as well?
No, again, very good question. Very relevant question, because some of the folks over here might be from IT services organizations, and I'm pretty sure they might be wondering, is it only for product organizations? I started my journey in IT services, and I started my journey in product management space in IT services, kind of ecosystem. And the way I would put it is like this. Currently, if you see, there is a dearth of really great product managers. So your ecosystem will identify you, your talent, your competencies, irrespective of where you are, right? It does not matter if your customer is somewhere else, if you are working as an vendor organization, if you're working in a product organization, if you're working for startups, right? Your competencies will not be hidden, and they will definitely would want to challenge their high potential folks with the really high maturity roles, such as product managers. So and wherever you are, even in the IT services organizations, if you can talk to your stakeholders, executives, and kind of try to position yourself as somebody who can play a greater role in defining products and executing product roadmaps, I think definitely I have seen huge amount of successes in product management space in IT services organizations as well. But great question.
So Nitin, now we have 3 more minutes, so we'll take 2 to 3 more questions. Another
Yep.
question is, does the product management fall under marketing wing, or is it separate department in itself? Who does product managers report to, etc.? Could you please address this?
No, I think great question again. So, see, marketing obviously is a separate organization, but if you see, the product managers have to work very closely with, the marketing organization. Product managers will have to really focus on getting the right insights, right planning in place as you take your product to market. So marketing organization has to be your very important counterpart as you take your path forward. And in terms of reporting, I think that's an advanced topic, and we can talk about it. But in 1 minute, if I can answer that, the product management organizations functions in the organizations should be built in such a way that they are independent, and they can be the voice of customers, voice of your product, voice of your business, rather than the internal entities like engineering or support or operations or UX, right? So in my opinion, I always an ambassador of keeping product management function independent, centralized, right? And also enable them with little bit of kind of authority, to ability to say no. If you go back to the slides, and if you see, uh, uh, having an ability to say no is a very important ability. It's very critical for business success. And if your by your organization design, If your product manager cannot say no to your ecosystem just because they are reporting into someone else, it's not going to be very effective function overall. So I hope I answered your question, but very, very, very important question. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
The next question is how does backlog change, or what way can it be reiterated with market change? What changes should be noted down in the market for the same?
Can you please repeat your question, Ankita? You were a little bit breaking.
Sure. How does backlog change, or what way can it be reiterated with market change? What changes should be noted down in the market for the same?
Sure. No, I think great question. So, see, backlog changes might be required, roadmap changes would be required for various reasons. For example, like let me tell you a few of the examples from my own experience. Your organization goes and acquire a company, and the integration with that company becomes the prime most work. So whatever you had planned earlier takes the back seat, because you cannot have an M&A failing because you could not integrate products. So that becomes very important aspect of it, right? So in this particular scenario, I had to change the backlog completely, like completely, right? Refreshed it. There might be changes in terms of legal changes, right? So there might be federal or state governments across geographies might kind of come up with a new legal requirement which your product would have to comply with immediately, and that is something which you will have to take care in your backlog, in your roadmap, so that it can be taken. Again, it might not be huge or it can be huge, right? It depends on the nature of the change, it depends on the volume of the change, and really how do you really kind of very closely focus on that and do it, because your competitors are also focusing on that change. Very obviously, a big example I would say is demonetization, right? Suddenly the payment wallets had to rush to kind of take it to newer cities and newer geographies and whatnot, right? I'm sure they would have gone through a lot of churn while that was happening. So it totally depends on the kind of change, but you can expect various kinds of changes, be it legal, be it your business specific, be it your the user specific. Suddenly you might get a new big customer which might be pushing for a feature right away, or you lose $1 million deal or millions of dollar deal, right? So things of those nature which will be which should be discussed in collaboration with all your partners, and then the right decision should be made. I hope I answered that question, but really great question there.
Thank you so much, Nitin. We have so many more questions, but looking at the time, I think we need to close the session. So, thank you so much, Nitin, for your time and efforts. And I'm sure you have answered so many questions in your presentation itself to the aspiring product managers or the people who are thinking to deep dive into this segment. Thank you so much, Nitin. And for the audience, we have our next session on 29th of April. The details are in the chat box. Please do join, and looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Nitin.
Thank you so much, Ankita. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.